Welcome back, everybody. We're diving into something pretty fascinating today, the world of AI and how it could make education more inclusive.
Oh, yeah. Definitely a hot topic these days, and for good reason, I think.
For sure. Our main focus is this paper, Monotropism Meets Machine by Carrie Draper.
Okay, yeah, I've seen that one.
It looks at how AI could help neurodivergent learners, especially those with a cognitive style called monotropism.
Monotropism. Interesting.
Yeah, and we'll get into exactly what that is, but in a nutshell, it's this tendency for deep singular focus, which you can imagine is both a strength and a challenge in traditional classrooms.
Right, makes sense. If you're really focused on one thing, it could be hard to switch gears quickly.
Exactly. We'll also be pulling from a few other sources, like this 2005 paper by Murray Lesser and Lawson on monotropism and attention,
Classic paper.
and then two newer papers on AI and education, Lee et al. From 2024 and Lee et al. From 2023.
Okay, so a good mix of foundational and cutting-edge research.
Yep. So our big questions for this deep dive are, can AI really personalize learning in a way that benefits everyone? What AI tools show the most promise? And could this be especially helpful for people who weren't diagnosed with neurodivergence until adulthood?
Lots to unpack there. Let's dive in.
So first, let's define monotropism. That 2005 paper by Murray and his colleagues explains it as having these really intense interests and kind of struggling to switch attention, deal with interruptions, or handle a lot of sensory input all at once.
You know, that makes me think of that classic example of the kid who's totally absorbed in building a Lego masterpiece. They're in the zone, ignoring everything else.
Yes. And then suddenly it's time for dinner, chaos erupts, and they're expected to just drop everything and switch gears.
Oh man, that would be rough for anyone, but especially for someone with monotropism where that shift in attention is extra challenging.
And the Murray paper actually uses this example of a student super focused on bird watching. They're noticing every detail, completely present, and then bam, the bell rings. It's time for math class and their whole world is disrupted.
It's not just the external distractions either.
Yeah.
Even shifting your attention internally from one thought to another can be difficult.
All right, so let's bring in Draper's research now. What's really cool is that Draper is a neurodivergent learner themselves.
Oh, wow. So they have this firsthand experience to draw on.
Yeah, exactly. They were actually diagnosed as an adult, which really fueled their interest in finding AI solutions.
That personal connection definitely comes through in the paper. You can feel the passion behind the research.
Totally. And what Draper specifically wanted to know was, could AI be especially helpful for those diagnosed with neurodivergence later in life? You know, people who might not have gotten those early interventions and accommodations.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like trying to catch up and figure out how to navigate a system that wasn't really designed for you.
Right. So Draper designed this study to test out 3 specific AI tools that they thought could help.
And each tool was designed to address a particular challenge that neurodivergent learners often face, especially those with monotropism.
So the first tool is called the clarification tool, and it basically simplifies instructions. It's like having this AI study buddy who can take those confusing directions and break them down into clear, manageable steps.
That sounds incredibly helpful, especially for someone who struggles with ambiguity.
Yeah.
Like imagine trying to follow a recipe that says, cook until done. What does done even mean? That kind of vagueness can be really frustrating.
And that's where the clarification tool comes in. It takes all that guesswork out and gives you super specific guidance. Then there's the summarization tool, which is all about reducing that cognitive overload by condensing information. Think of it like this tool that can take a dense article or textbook chapter and pull out all the key points into a neat little summary.
I need that in my life. I feel like I'm constantly drowning in information. Yeah. So having that AI-powered summary would be a game changer.
Oh, for sure. Especially if you're someone who processes information really deeply and can easily get bogged down in the details. The summarization tool helps you see the forest for the trees, you know.
It gives you that big picture overview, which can make things so much more manageable.
Exactly. And then the last tool is the tailored learning tool. And as you might guess, it tailors how educational content is delivered, like pace, format, and even the type of content to match your individual needs and preferences.
So it's like having a personalized tutor who knows exactly how you learn best.
Exactly. Now, the question is, how did Draper put these tools to the test?
Right, because you can't just assume they work. You got to actually see them in action.
So Draper used this really interesting approach that combined self-reflection and simulated data. They actually used the tools themselves while studying so they could get this firsthand feel for how each one impacted their own learning.
That's such a valuable perspective to have. You're not just looking at numbers on a spreadsheet. You're actually experiencing how these tools work in a real learning environment.
Yeah, it adds this whole other layer of depth to the findings. And to get a broader perspective, Draper created simulated data representing almost 400 other participants with different ages, backgrounds, and most importantly, when they were diagnosed with neurodivergence.
So they're trying to see if the tools work differently for people who are diagnosed as kids versus adults.
Exactly. And the results were fascinating. Across all three tools, the group that was diagnosed with neurodivergence as adults reported significantly higher perceived benefits compared to the group diagnosed in youth.
Wow, that's a pretty big finding. It suggests that these AI tools could be particularly impactful for people who didn't have access to early interventions and support.
Right. And when we dug into the specifics of the AI tool survey, it gets even more interesting. The adult diagnosed group said the clarification tool made it way easier to understand instructions and get started on tasks. It was like that initial hurdle of just knowing where to begin was removed.
Which makes sense if you think about it. For someone with monotropism, getting started can be the hardest part. So having those clear, unambiguous instructions can make a world of difference.
Absolutely. And the summarization tool, oh man, that was huge for this group in terms of reducing cognitive overload.
Yeah.
It seems like having that concise overview of the material just made it so much easier to engage with the content without feeling overwhelmed.
I can see how that would be especially helpful for folks who tend to hyperfocus.
Yeah.
The summarization tool helps them filter out the noise and zero in on what's most important.
And then finally, the tailored learning tool. Well, that one significantly boosted engagement and made it easier for the adult diagnosed group to complete tasks. It really highlights the power of personalized learning.
It's like having a learning experience that's custom designed for you, which can be incredibly empowering, especially if you've spent years struggling to fit into a system that doesn't quite meet your needs.
So why might these tools be particularly beneficial for those diagnosed later in life? Draper suggests it could be because they missed out on those early supports and accommodations. The AI tools are like finally filling in those gaps.
Well, it's like getting the right pair of glasses after years of blurry vision.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. It's about leveling the playing field and creating a more equitable learning experience.
And it makes you wonder if these AI tools could be game changers for everyone, not just those who are neurodivergent.
That's exactly where I wanted to go next. I mean, we all learn differently, right? So could these tools that are so helpful for people with monotropism, could they benefit everyone in some way?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the real paradigm shift in how we think about education, moving away from this one-size-fits-all model and embracing the idea that everyone has their own unique learning style.
And that AI could help us cater to those individual needs and preferences in ways that just weren't possible before.
Exactly. It's about empowering learners to take control of their own education and creating a system that supports them every step of the way.
So Draper's research focused on these three specific tools. But what do these other papers, the Lai et al. And Li et al. Say about how AI might change learning for everyone?
Well, the Lai et al. Paper from 2024 dives into this concept called adaptive learning. Imagine a learning experience that actually changes in real time based on your performance and understanding.
Yeah.
Like it's constantly adjusting to keep you challenged, but not overwhelmed.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's like instead of having a static textbook that's the same for everyone, you have this dynamic learning experience that adapts to you specifically as you go along.
Yep, exactly. AI could track your progress, figure out where you're excelling or struggling, and then adjust the difficulty, the pace, or even the type of content to help you master the material.
That sounds almost like magic, like the textbook is magically rewriting itself to be perfect for you.
It's pretty close. And then Li et al. In their 2023 paper, they talk about personalized learning pathways, which is this idea that instead of everyone following the same rigid curriculum, AI could help create personalized learning paths tailored to your interest goals and how you learn best.
So instead of being forced to memorize all these historical dates or scientific formulas that don't really interest me, I could spend more time diving deeper into topics that I'm actually passionate about.
Precisely. It's about making learning more engaging and meaningful by giving you more control over what and how you learn.
Okay, that's a really cool vision for the future of education. But let's be realistic for a second. How far off is all of this? Are we actually close to seeing this level of personalized AI-powered learning in schools, in universities?
Well, AI is still rapidly evolving, and there's a lot of work to be done before we see these kinds of systems become mainstream. I mean, it's a huge undertaking.
So what are the biggest challenges? What needs to happen to make this a reality?
Well, one big one is just the complexity of AI itself. We need to develop AI systems that are sophisticated enough to truly understand individual learning needs and preferences and then be able to adapt accordingly. It's not just about crunching numbers, it's about understanding nuance and being able to respond in a way that's truly helpful for each learner.
So it's not just about using AI, it's about making sure the AI is actually smart enough to do the job right.
Exactly. And then there's the whole issue of access. I mean, these AI tools are amazing, but they're useless if not everyone can use them. We need to make sure these technologies are available to all students regardless of their socioeconomic background, their location, or their access to technology. Digital equity is a huge piece of this puzzle.
You know, one thing I really appreciated about Draper's work was their commitment to open knowledge. They actually shared their entire data set and code publicly on Kaggle, which is pretty rare in academia.
Yeah, I noticed that too. It's really refreshing to see a researcher who's so open and transparent about their work. It shows a real commitment to collaboration and to moving the field forward.
It's like saying, hey, here's what I've learned. Let's all work together to build on this and make it even better. And I think that kind of collaborative spirit is essential if we really want AI to reach its full potential in education.
Absolutely. Yeah. It can't just be a few researchers working in silos. We need educators, policymakers, students, even parents, all involved in this conversation about how we can best use AI to create a more inclusive and equitable learning experience for everyone.
That's a great point. We've talked a lot about the research and the possibilities, but at the end of the day, what does all of this mean for the person listening right now? How could AI actually impact their learning or even their work?
Well, I think the first step is just awareness.
Yeah.
Just becoming familiar with what AI is capable of, what the potential benefits are, but also what the limitations and potential risks might be. It's about becoming an informed consumer of these technologies so you can make educated decisions about how you want to use them.
So no easy answers, just lots of food for thought.
Pretty much. But it's important food for thought, I think. And it's something each listener needs to grapple with on their own terms. Like, what would it look like for you to have AI supporting your learning? What would your ideal AI learning tool be like? What specific problems would it solve for you?
Would you want an AI that helps you break down complex instructions? Or an AI that summarizes dense information? Or maybe something totally different that we haven't even thought of yet?
The possibilities are endless. And as AI technology continues to evolve, the tools we have at our disposal are only going to become more sophisticated and more personalized.
So if anyone listening is feeling inspired to learn more about AI and its potential in education, I definitely recommend checking out Draper's work and that data set on Kaggle. You never know. You might be the one who creates the next breakthrough AI tool that revolutionizes how we learn.
And please share it with the world if you do. We need all hands on deck to make education more inclusive, equitable, and engaging for everyone.
We'll definitely be keeping a close eye on this space. But before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought-provoking question.
Hit me with it.
If AI could truly personalize your learning, like completely tailor it to your unique needs and interests, what subjects or skills would you be most excited to explore? What doors would it open for you?
Wow, that's a really good question. I'm going to have to think about that one. Pretty exciting to imagine all the possibilities.
It is, and we'd love to hear your thoughts, too. So connect with us on social media, share your ideas, and let's keep this conversation going. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
You know, it's funny. As we've been talking about all this AI stuff, it's made me realize how we often think of AI as this, like, futuristic thing.
Yeah, like something out of a sci-fi movie.
But these papers show us that AI is already here. It's already starting to make a real impact on education, like right now.
And what I find exciting is that it's not about replacing teachers with robots or anything like that.
Right. It's not about making teachers obsolete.
It's about giving teachers new tools and strategies to help them better meet the needs of all their students.
It's almost like giving teachers superpowers. They could use AI to personalize lessons, track student progress, provide targeted feedback, even create completely new learning experiences that wouldn't be possible before. Exactly. And it's not just teachers who would benefit. Students could use AI to get extra support, to explore their own interests, and to learn at their own pace. It could help us move towards a more learner-centered education system, where everything is truly customized to each individual.
I think this also brings up an important role for parents and families. We need to be having conversations with our kids about AI, helping them understand both its potential and its limits.
Oh, absolutely. AI literacy is going to be so important for this next generation. I mean, think about it. They're growing up in a world where AI is everywhere.
Right. It's not just about knowing how to use AI, but understanding how it's being used all around them. From social media algorithms to personalized ads, AI is already shaping their experiences, whether we realize it or not.
And as AI becomes more integrated into education, it's going to be even more important for students to understand how these systems work, what biases they might have, and how to use them ethically and responsibly.
It really feels like we're all on this journey of discovery together, learning about AI as it evolves and figuring out how to harness its power for good.
And I think that's what makes it such an exciting time to be involved in education. We have this incredible opportunity to shape the future of learning, using AI to create a more inclusive, equitable, and engaging experience for everyone.
It's like we're standing at the edge of a new frontier. We don't know exactly what the future holds, but we know AI is going to be a big part of it.
And it's up to all of us to make sure that AI is used in ways that benefit humanity, especially when it comes to something as crucial as education.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Oh,
Well, thanks for joining us today on this deep dive into the fascinating world of AI and inclusive learning. We hope you've gained some new insights, sparked some new ideas, and maybe even feel inspired to explore the potential of AI in your own life.
and remember, this is just the start of the conversation. Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep questioning as AI continues to shape the world around us.
We're definitely going to keep an eye on it, and we hope you will too.